Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin. We have an original tune from the band today called Sweet Talk. And this is not about, wonderful desserts or pastries. This is about love. Let's get right into it. Here is Sweet Talk by Uriah Heep. Well, hello to you too. This is a really nice intro. It's kind of a little bit mysterious. You don't really know where it's heading, but at the same point, it just has such a warmth to it that I really enjoy. The delay on it kind of reminded me initially of A Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney. Fantastic song, unless you're one of those people that hates Christmas songs, in which case to you it may not be a fantastic song. But I always loved his voice on that one. But anyway, I digress. Really liked it. I like the way that they put in the phone ring where it really wasn't quite on the tempo. So you kind of felt like it was a separate thing. Very cool intro. This is the first time we've heard anybody sort of do a voiceover like that, an outside person from the band. So kind of interesting.
I see your face in the magazine stand. I want to hold you in the palm of my hand. I love everything about you. You're such a long way away.
Well, that was really nice, the way that they used the vocal effect in the verse there to make it sound like he was talking on the phone. Very easy to achieve, a little bit more difficult back in the 80s, of course, because things were done differently back then. Nowadays, you just pull up a plug-in and you set it to telephone. And then you make the adjustment, how much static do you want on the line, that sort of thing. But it sounded really good. It was very convincing, certainly set that apart from, the rest of the vocals for the song. The sound is really good. It's again, we're kind of at everything being panned mainly to the center, which normally would make everything kind of blend a little bit in, and you lose a lot of the tonal qualities to things. But at this point, you can actually hear everything that's going on. At least I think I can. If I couldn't hear something, I wouldn't know that I couldn't hear it. So that's kind of a bold statement. But nonetheless, I hear keyboards, I hear bass, I hear guitars, I hear drums. I hear the kick, the snare, not really hearing much hi-hat, which was also another thing that was very common in this era of recording. It was kind of like when the band first started out as Uriah Heep and engineers were trying to figure out how to really record rock and roll of this caliber. They're kind of at that same point now in the 80s where they're like, there's so many synths going on and all kinds of things. How do we make this sound good? And they just kind of forgot about the spatial field for a little while. So there's not as much panning in the sounds as there could have been. And it seems really weird to me that got lost all of a sudden. I don't know exactly how that happened, but you could hear everything is very near the center of your ear. You're not hearing a guitar way off to the left or the keyboards way off to the right anymore. Everything's just kind of in the middle. And that's just how it was. But you can clearly hear at least something that everyone is doing, which is really good, because we've suffered a lot on bass lately, not hearing things, but I can definitely hear it. And I'm pleasantly surprised. Those are some really interesting keyboard sounds that he's using. They definitely work with the song, but they make me kind of feel like everything's not quite right. Like they sound like they're out of tune, but they're not at the same time. And it's throwing me off a little bit, but a really cool sound. I like it. There's a little bit of feedback there in the middle of that section that I played. I'm not really sure if that was an intentional or not, but it cut out really quick. So that was kind of strange. But, despite the lack of range that we hear from Peter Goalby, I have to say he really makes up for it in power and inflection. He's a very straightforward singer, but he really brings it. And I like that. I think he's got a great voice. Of course, we're used to hearing, high-pitched screams and all kinds of stuff from their various singers, but I think he's doing a great job, and definitely see how he fits in well with the band. Lots of keyboards on this song. There's a couple times I thought that the keyboards kind of overpowered the vocals a little bit, and you really don't want that. When the vocals are going, that's telling the story. That should be the thing that's in the prime position. But again, that partially comes from, I would imagine, just, blending everything towards the center of the sound point. So that's going to happen. But I have to say, Mick is thickening things up very nicely with the chords that he's playing. You got really solid drums, as always, from Lee Kerslake. Bass is actually a little bit more simplistic on this, but it definitely works for the song. It just needs to be a good pulse. And that's what he's given him. So great job from Bob Daisley. Well, as much as I love that solo, there's definitely a couple weird things that happened. The vocals kind of went on into the solo where normally they would stop. So I'm kind of like, could you really call it a solo when there's other stuff, when there's a vocal going on? I suppose you could, but it was the start of it anyway. And then you had a really weird transition that it was pretty cool because it was unexpected, but just a strange transition for the timing of it when the solo's already started. But it sounded good. I love the sound of Mick's guitar. It sounds really nice and thick. He is just a master of, I don't know what you call it, where he's playing with his fingers on the fretboard, but I don't know the musical term for it, but he's very good at that. And I think I heard a little bit of wah pedal in there too. Very strong though. I like the way they came out of it back into the chorus again. I thought that was a really nice and smooth transition. And it's just a good solid song. Yeah, those kind of parts were really common in the 80s and then more rock version in the 90s. They really kind of allowed the band to go into a long drawn out version on stage, get the crowd clapping their hands, pumping their fist in the air, maybe singing along, whatever it would be. And that part would set Heep up nicely if that was a song that they performed live. I also forgot to mention during the solo, I like the cowbell that Lee Kerslake was playing. You don't hear a lot of cowbell in Heep. But that was nice. And instead of it just being on the quarter note, there was a nice little accent in there in the first section of it. Then he went to just playing it straight. But that was a nice addition. I really didn't expect that. The thing about a cowbell, though, is it can kind of thin out the sound of the drums sometimes. You don't have that heaviness from the hats as much. But it actually sounded pretty good. I think it's probably because we don't really hear the hi-hat a whole lot in this song. But either way, it was an interesting choice, something different. And I really like where the song is going, though. I like the chorus. I love the feel of it. It just I don't know what it is about it. I couldn't really explain it in those terms, but I just have to say it just feels really good. I just want to keep hearing it. Okay, I'm not really sure what that sound was. It didn't sound like Lee Kerslake hit a mic or anything. That was really weird. Let's hear that again. No idea what that was. I mean, it kind of fit in rhythmically, so it sounds like it might have been intentional, but the sound itself doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. So I don't know what that was all about, but interesting. Okay, I'd heard it again during the musical part, so I know it was intentional. And then obviously we have what sounds like somebody hanging the phone up and then like a digital dial tone, which would be the opposite of the way it would be unless you're the one being hung up on. Then you might hear some sort of strange tone or a dial tone afterwards. But, for those of you who are younger and haven't really lived in the days of analog phones, there used to be this thing that hung on the wall. And it had a thing that you would pick up that would reach from your ear all the way down to your mouth. And it had a very long curly cord that you would just wrap around whatever was in the way while you were trying to walk around and talk to people. But the thing that I miss about it, honestly, is that when you want to slam the phone down on somebody, there is no satisfaction, no matter how hard you press the glass on your cell phone, there is just no satisfaction in slamming the phone down on people. Back in the days of analog phones, when they hung on the wall, when a telemarketer called or a solicitor of some sort, the greatest satisfaction was just to slam the phone down on those people, or if you were in a fight with somebody. And I miss that. I get so many robocalls these days. It would really be nice to do that. But you also know that you're not actually talking to a person anyway. You're talking to a computer, and there's really nobody on the line. So there wouldn't be that much satisfaction in it now anyway. But in any case, it was a cool ending. I didn't really expect that. And I thought it was a great song, though. I love the feel of it. It's a little keyboard driven. And then where we really hear the guitar shine is in the solo. But, Mick is playing some really nice chords throughout the song to thicken it up and just keep it moving forward. Really cool drums, good bass line, great vocal from Peter Goalby. Good song. Good song. I will give this one a thumbs up, as I have almost every single song we've done. And there have been quite a few. So thank you guys for joining me on another episode. We'll be back on the next episode with another episode. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!